Let's talk about wheelchairs, Dad.
Power chair or manual chair, Fisher?
Quadriplegic or paraplegic?
What's my functionability?
Everyday use, outdoor use.
Does my vehicle and my wheelchair mix?
In today's video, we will discuss everything about wheelchairs. In today's video, we will discuss what type of wheelchair somebody may need.
A manual or a power chair, right, Fisher?
Yep.
First off, let's look into the cost, Fisher. The cost of a manual chair is going to be considerably amount cheaper than what a power chair was going to be.
Yeah, because the power chair is going to be more bulky, batteries, a lot more metal, and stuff like that.
And I guess the one thing that I would say that would drive the cost of a manual chair up is with all the power assist, whether it's power assist wheels, whether it is the smart drive. I guess once you add the power assist, Fisher, that, I guess it could even the cost of a manual chair and a power chair.
Yeah, because your smart drive was $6,000.
Yeah, so I guess, but overall, if you're able to push, a manual chair is going to be cheaper. Let's look at the maintenance difference in the power chair versus the manual chair, Fisher.
Yeah, power chair is going to have the batteries, and for his power chair, his batteries always went out, and tires. He had tires, and they were usually good for about 1 to 2 years. But on the manual chair, you've only had to change your tires out once, Dad.
Yeah, exactly, Fisher. And the batteries are not cheap. If I remember right, the batteries are around $400, and they would last a year and a half. And again, the wheels, and you had the tilt. A lot of mechanical moving parts on a power chair. Obviously, so you have a greater chance of breakage and maintenance needs versus a manual chair. I believe them are good points that you make, Fisher. We'll look into the health, and when I mean health, Fisher, is can I get healthier with a manual chair versus a power chair?
I would say, if you have the ability to get into a manual chair, I would say it's better because you are exercising your biceps, your arms, and and whenever you need a break, if you have a smart drive or the smart wheels, you can just tap. Well, for my dad, he can just tap on the edge of his tires and he can go.
Yeah, I would say without a doubt. If you're paraplegic or a quadriplegic and you're able to be in the manual wheelchair, obviously I do believe that it's going to be healthier for you. You're definitely going to be able to work on the heart rate when you're pushing, and just the strength that you're going to gain in your arms. And again, the possibilities of having that power assist are available. So health-wise, I would definitely give a big thumbs up to the manual chair. One of the main things, Fisher, looking into the wheelchair needs, am I quadriplegic or a paraplegic? Is that going to make a difference in which wheelchair that I use? The answer to that, Fisher, is yes and no. And when we look into it, most of the time, the majority of the time, a paraplegic is probably going to use a manual wheelchair. Now, I do see more paraplegics today that have the smart drive or the wheel assist, and that makes it easier, saves their shoulders. But quadriplegics are a little different, because quadriplegics, the finger function, the hand function, the arm function is not always good enough for a manual wheelchair, and then it's also not good enough all the time for even the power assist, whether it's the power drive or whether it's the the power wheels that you would put on there. And so you'd have to be careful with them. These are the things that we're discussing when we're looking into the manual versus power chair, with the differences in the injury, right, Fisher? Mm-hmm. And me as a quadriplegic, Fisher, I think that you would say that somebody could probably get by with a power like the smart drive with a little bit less hand function, but not a lot less hand function than that. Would you agree?
Yeah, because you're very fortunate for a quadriplegic. Most quadriplegics have a way more hard time moving their hands, their legs, and you're very fortunate. Yeah,
but still, even with me being fortunate, I've got decent hand function. But there's times that, like when we're to store something, I can run into problems because my hands may not, especially my right hand, it may stiffen up or it may catch a wheel spoke or something, and it affects the smart drive with me trying to stop, right?
Yeah, because your hand will crunch up in the smart drive. It's not used to you using your fist to hit the
Right.
bar, and then you can hurt your knuckles.
Right. And so that's the difference in that is, you know, the answer is yes, a manual wheelchair will work for both a paraplegic and a quadriplegic. And yes, a power chair will work for both a paraplegic and a quadriplegic. Obviously, you know, make sure that you know your ability, talk with your doctors, your therapist, and make a joint decision together to see which wheelchair works for you.
This brings us into our next stepdad level of function.
Yeah, it does. It talks about kind of the same issue when we're talking about our last, the quadriplegic versus paraplegic, what wheelchair do I need? But what level of function are you, you know, again, talking with your therapist, talking with your doctor, and, you know, knowing yourself after, you know, you've been injured for a while, what is your functionability, you know, and like myself, I'm a C3 quadriplegic. Now, for the first 3 years that I was injured, I could not have used a manual chair, but as I progressed, right, Fisher?
Yeah.
I was able to move into a manual chair, which was able to help me exercise and different things. And I was not always able to do that, and believe it or not all paraplegics are going to have the strength to push a manual chair. So knowing your level of functionability is a very, very important key to discuss with your doctor and your therapist, and just to know your body yourself.
Hey Dad, what's my needs, everyday or outdoor use?
Exactly, Fisher, that's another good thing. Some people, Fisher, they've got chairs not only for everyday use, but outdoor use too, and then some people just use the same chair for both. And as we get into this subject, like for me, like my power chair was better for me and you outdoors than what my manual chair is. We have a hard time for us to do the same things out on the grass, out on the rougher surfaces than what we did in my power chair.
Yeah, especially if it's muddy, a little mucky outside, because this chair, the tires I don't think they have as much tread on the tires as the power chair, and the power chair gave it just a little more force.
Well, what really happens, Fish, is the power chair, the tires are thicker, you know, versus the thin manual wheelchair tires, and the thinner tires, they just sink into the ground more. But with that being said, you know, we'll watch this video right now of a manual chair, Ben Huntzinger, and he builds the chariots, and let's watch this video.
Well, Dad, one thing I saw from that video is Ben's tires were really wide and his caster tires were really wide.
That's how Ben designs his wheelchairs, is, you know, his push tires are real wide, and then his caster tires down on the bottom are really wide. And you can see, you gotta be beast mode kind of like Ben is. I mean, you gotta have a lot of function to do what Ben does, but a lot of people do, and, you know, it's a great option for an outdoor chair. You know, I think it's probably one of the best options out there for an outdoor chair. But not everybody, like myself, has the ability to push that chair like that. And so some other type of power chair, like this track chair here that we've got the picture of up, you know, a chair like that, you know, you see that out there for people that use power chairs, and it's almost like a four-wheel drive, Fisher.
Yeah, and it makes it like with your power chair, it was like that. It was like a four-wheel drive in the way that you could accomplish more things with it than the manual chair. With the manual chair, you can't push yourself through your ass, but the power chair you could. But there's also some upsets with the manual chair that the power chair doesn't have.
Right, and so them are the things that we would want to look at as far as we're looking at everyday use versus outdoor use. If I buy a track chair, what am I going to do for my everyday use? Can I use that? Maybe not. You know, Ben uses his outdoor chair full time, so his chair can be used full time. So some different things that you need to think about, and once again, that's going to be a decision, because everything that we're talking about is really expensive.
Hey Dad, will my wheelchair and vehicle mix?
That's a good question, Fisher. This is something that you really got to pay attention to. Like for me, like right now, I could not go back to a power chair if I wanted to, because currently I have a car that I transfer in and break my wheelchair down. Now before, I had two vans. I had a full-size van and a minivan, and I would just roll up into the minivan, right, with my power chair, and I would drive from my power chair.
Yeah, and there's also a seat option, but we took that off because it was more comfortable for him to sit in his power chair.
Right. And you know, I could also drive out of my manual chair if I had the right accessibility parts on my van, which I did not, so I could not drive out of my manual chair in my van. But that is all possible, obviously. So if you have a manual chair, you know, obviously a car is a great option. But if you have a power chair, you know,
you're more confined.
You're more confined. You definitely can't use a car. You know, you got to use a van, or
you can't break a power chair down.
Right. And so, or I guess if you had a car, you know, and somebody was always with you, you could put a trailer hitch on the car and then put the little the attachments that go in the back that somebody could put your power chair on, and it could ride behind the trunk. I guess that's a possibility. But still, yet remember that everything that we do in these injuries, you know, whether it's a manual chair, whether it's a power chair, whether it's a car, whether it's a van, it's all expensive, and it's all got to fit right, and it's all got to be in a
order.
It has to be in order, or it just won't work for us. Well, Fisher, that's a quick overlook of a manual chair versus a power chair. And you know, my advice to people is this: if you're able to push a manual chair and your doctor agrees and your therapist agrees, definitely get in that manual chair, because it's going to be a healthier, it gives you, you know, obviously building arm strength, shoulder strength, you know, finger function, heart rate. So there's a lot of you know, a lot of positives for the health issues that a manual chair will bring. Obviously, there's times that will not work for everybody, Fisher, and they're going to have a power chair.
Yeah, if they don't have a lot of hand function, then there's not somebody to help them. And also, if they don't have the greatest leg function to stop their wheelchair, or great hand function, like I said before, to move their chair.
Right, and so again, remember, all these decisions that we make are very expensive. And when we buy wheelchairs, you know, we got to keep them. I believe most insurance companies is like one every 5 years. And so that is a commitment that we've got to make, that once we buy, we've got to be happy with and make sure that it works. And then a vehicle is the same way. You know, when you buy a vehicle, when you buy an accessible van, if you buy a newer van, I mean, we're looking at a minimum of $20,000, upwards of $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 if you don't have any help from like vocational rehab or something. So these are major investments, and so we need to be very confident in our decision and confident in our abilities for what we're going to be using, Fisher, right?
Yep. And make sure hit that like button and comment down below which wheelchair you use. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it then.
Yeah, make sure to comment below. Tell us what kind of wheelchair you use, and tell us what wheelchair you use. Tell us why you're using that wheelchair, and tell us if you feel like you've made the right decision. And like Fisher say, smash that like button, and we'll see you in the next video.